Hello, everyone. In today's episode, we're going to talk about weight loss versus fat loss and what should really be your focus to track your progress. Please enjoy.
Welcome to the Perfect Workout Podcast, where fitness meets simplicity. I'm Kyle Recchia, CEO of the Perfect Workout. I'm joined by Jim Keene, our Director of Training. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Welcome back, everybody. Episode 9. I'm super excited about today's topic, weight versus fat loss. This is really, really important because this is one of those things, we talked about it in the last episode, Jim, where the standard is that people get ready to exercise. They come into it maybe with even the intention of, I don't really care what happens. I just want to be healthy and live longer. But it doesn't take too long, especially when you're hanging out with a lot of people that have the same sort of mindset, etc., that you're like, I want to look good. I want to look good. I want to go to the beach. I want to look shredded, etc. And so I need to lose some weight. And the weight loss doesn't come off. The scale doesn't go down fast enough. And all of a sudden you do what is inevitable. You just stop eating, right? And that's not good. We talked about that last week, but we're going to dive a little deeper into that. So I think to kick this off, it'd be really cool to just do kind of a basic explanation around this acronym people have probably heard of, TDEE. What is it? How do we calculate it? And how does that relate to this whole topic?
So the TDEE stands for Total Daily Energy Expenditure. How many calories you expend in a day. And the way it's put together is there's your basal metabolic rate, which has nothing to do with Italian cooking. Don't believe the lies. It's BASAL, the base. The base, often called the resting metabolic rate.
Yeah, we'll spot some basal.
Take as much time as you did. There you go, that's fine. So the resting metabolic rate, that's the base. Then there is the NEAT, the non-exercise activity thermogenesis producing. So these are things that are not exercise, but still burn calories. These are all you're walking in the grocery store. These are fidgeting. Some people kind of tap their feet and stuff. Yeah. So anything you do that produces movement that is not specifically exercise, call it NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And then there's what you do in exercise. All those added together creates your TDEE, how much you burn each day.
So, and this is why this part's really important, because there's some fallacies here. So I heard it's sad, but it's a cool research on women who are training for ultra marathons or marathons. Yeah. And on average, most of them come out weighing more than they did before they started the training. Ugh. And so the research is like, what's happening? These people are training, they're running 10 miles, then 20 miles, etc. They're expending a lot, especially on that further one down, on the exercise part, right? So I think what happens is people start to think these things are somewhat static. My resting metabolic rate is X. My NEAT is probably Y. And all I have to do is add in Z, exercise, and I will increase my TDEE.
Right.
And you alluded to this last time. What was happening in this research is that people would go train or get ready for the marathon, and they expended so much energy, so much painful energy doing those 20 miles, or whatever the case may be, right? That even at a subconscious level, and this was not something that showed up in the surveys, they didn't realize that the rest of the day, what they ended up doing was just laying on the couch.
Right.
Or maybe eating a little bit more food. So the NEAT went down. And we talked about this last time. If you're not fueling right, you're not getting enough protein, etc.
Yeah.
And you end up losing muscle, that's what makes up, correct me if I'm wrong, your basal metabolic rate.
Yep.
So your RMR goes down.
Yep.
So now you have, I'm going to go work way harder so that I can burn more calories. And then I'm going to let my RMR and NEAT go down, which is exponentially more of the makeup of your total expenditure than the exercise piece.
Right. And there are some people who imagine if they do the calculations and they go to the lab and they get the metabolic mask and they do the whole thing, I burn 2,500 calories per day. There's some people who think they could eat 2,000 calories a day and slowly lose weight until they weighed 0 pounds. If they just did it long enough, 500 calories every day, they would disappear. They lost all the weight. They would win weight loss. They finally beat their aim. And of course, why doesn't that happen? It's because the body's going to adapt by making you more hungry, by making you less active outside of your exercise. There's a great example. I forget who I heard this from, but someone was saying, if you had a dinner party coming up and the host of the party was a fantastic cook, it's like Gordon Ramsay or something like that, incredible cook. And he said, get ready, get hungry, because I am going to cook up some of the best stuff you've ever had. What would you do to make sure you were as hungry as possible and could eat as much as possible when you got to the dinner? And when I ask people this, the most common response is, well, first of all, I wouldn't eat that day. and then I'd probably go like exercise a bunch just to make me hungrier. And so you would eat less and exercise to make yourself as hungry as possible. That's what you would do. And so that they say, okay, it's time to beat the hunger. It's time to lose weight and diet. And for the last over half a century, the instructions have been eat less and then exercise. Right. So the exact thing that would make you the most likely to binge and become hungry and then it would fail has been the advice, right? So gas and brake at the same time, right? So obviously there's a better way. And when you are doing as I just described, you're eating less and moving more, you're probably just looking at the scale. I don't care what happens. I just need the scale to go down. And oftentimes I've even asked clients, if I could shrink you by 2 sizes, but you would weigh the same, would you take that deal?
Right.
And they go, no.
Wow.
And I say, well, wait a minute. So you're going to fit into smaller pants and feel better in your clothes out. The scale says the same and you won't take that deal. I just can't be 160 or whatever the number is.
Right.
And it's insane the hold that the scale number has on us. It's a good indicator, right? Like no one plateaus at 270. Like it's a good indicator.
Right.
But the idea that you would focus on that as the priority, it's misguided and it's non-productive. It's counterproductive.
Yeah. Yeah. A good example, you look at some of these UFC fighters and, I might look at somebody that's my height, 5'9", or whatever the case may be, and they're just jacked and shredded, lots of muscle, right? Very low body fat. And they weigh the same that somebody else 5'9" might look at when 25, 30% body fat, right? Because the fat piece there. So there's this myth, we talked about this last time. There's this myth around what's the difference between weight loss and fat loss. And part of it comes into, and we're sort of alluding to this here on the energy balance side, you either have to bulk up. The idea here is that some guy just like lost a whole bunch of weight, maybe went down to 100 and then magically went back up to 200, and then, or shred down. And so people try to manipulate that game and they're doing it all with one very basic sort of linear tool, which is the scale.
Right. Well, and the people fail to understand how leanness refers to your body composition, which refers to your body fat percentage. If your body fat percentage goes down, you are getting leaner, right? So I'll put it to you this way. It was a Casey Viator thing, the Arthur Jones, Casey Viator. What he would do, he would get leaner into the show and become heavier in the process. So let's say you're 200 pounds, and you're 10% body fat. If you gain a pound of muscle, now you're 201 pounds, but you're less than 10% body fat. You've gotten heavier and leaner in the process.
Yeah. Your fat is a lower percentage of the total weight that's coming up because you gained muscle.
The proportion of your body that is fat tissue is now less, even though you have gotten heavier.
Exactly.
So a lot of people just go, I don't care what the composition is. I care about the weight. And this is backwards. And this is why you yo-yo diet. This is why your metabolism has this adaptation that down-regulates everything. And then you're stuck with nowhere to go. So instead, the focus, and it's really bad for some people mentally because the first 2 or 3 months, we're just recovering your broken thing you got going on. And we're hitting the strength training and the protein. And so you might fill out a little bit because you're regaining lost muscle and lost strength. And so I came here for fat loss. I'm 25% body fat, and you guys, I'm gaining weight. And if you tested them, like the Prism scans. So in the Perfect Workout app, we have these, Prism is the name of the company. These scans, you rotate in a circle, you put your phone, I think, and it gives you within 2% of an DEXA scan, your body composition. And so the fact that this is so available lets people relax. Because DEXA scans, what do you do? Once every 3 months? Maybe. Once every 4, once every 6. So you don't know what's happening in the interim. But if I have the Prism scan, I gained a pound this week, but my Prism scan says my body fat percentage has gone down. I think I'm good with that. So people can like relax a little bit and de-stress now that they have that tool. But the body fat percentage is the name of the game, not necessarily the weight, because we're trying to change body composition, not just take up less space on the earth.
Yeah, this is an important mind shift. Like when you start doing this, in some ways, you should celebrate that scale moving up if you're going to stand on that scale. For me, a lot of times it's like, please just don't stand on a scale unless you're doing it with something like Prism, because then it's using the information more holistically to understand sort of what's going on with that body fat percentage, et cetera. If you're just looking at the weight, it's going in a way that you want it to. So how many people come in and say, I really want to get my triceps to be a little more cut, and I want to have a nice booty and all these sorts of things. You want the effect of adding muscle. And when you do that quite quickly on fast fit,
Right. Yeah.
and then
Especially at first.
and then it shows up on the scale. Because of this way of thinking, you go, oh, I better change all my habits to then get rid of the muscle because you think you're getting rid of fat.
Great story about this. I was consulting for this couple, and the wife, she's in her mid to late 60s, and she, via DEXA scan, she added some negative only stuff into her protocol and gained 9 pounds of lean mass.
So,
I think a time period of 5 to 6 months.
oh man.
And I was celebrating, and then I come to find out months later, I checked in on him. She had stopped doing the negative onlys because she just couldn't. I can't weigh that much. I cannot weigh that much. I can't look down and see that number. Like, she couldn't do it. So she lost another like 5 pounds of muscle.
Oh man.
It's like, you're gonna be, and I explained everything just like I am here, but there's certain people who are just so stuck on what I should weigh. You're gonna should all over yourself. Should weigh. This should be should weigh. How about the body composition you should have? What about that? Like,
Right.
that's